Hello to Pioneer viewers. As you know, our agenda is the Russia-Ukraine war. The war continues on the front line in its all reality. In the days when the clashes intensify, interesting developments are taking place in the background. The most important factor of the military unit is the quality of commanders. The higher the intelligence of the military staff, the easier it is to achieve success. Officers' aptitude for the military service and the training they receive determine their quality, and the quality of officers affects an entire army. In today's modern armies, military training is considered very important, especially with the technological developments. The need for an armed power has been limited, but the importance of strategic intelligence has increased considerably. Determining and implementing the strategy is a task for the senior commanders. While senior commanders make plans, the quality of the cadres who will implement them into the fields is also an important requirement. In the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, both sides have suffered significant high-level military losses. The Russian army has suffered more high-level losses. In this situation, there have been shortcomings in the staff of the Russian army. The need for the commanders with a leader character who can direct the soldiers on the front line has become important for the Russian army. The Russian army had difficulties in replacing the senior commander it lost. The incident that took place in the past days was an indicator of this reality. According to the information we have obtained, a Russian commander in the charge of Moscow's war in the Kherson region of southern Ukraine has been replaced due to the poor results. Let's analyze the reasons for the resignations and the latest developments in the Russian army. Russia has suffered heavy losses on the front line since the attempted invasion of Ukraine. Russian losses include both military vehicles, weapons, and equipment, as well as senior commanders. The military casualties suffered by the Russian troops had a serious negative impact on the morale of the army. In addition, the destruction of senior officers by the Ukrainian army also raised security concerns. The structural problems in the Russian army, coupled with the military failures, have focused everyone's attention on the army. The Moscow administration also seems to be very uncomfortable with the state of the army. But sanctions or restrictions against an army at war are not considered an effective solution. In this case, the Russian army needs to fix itself. The method used by the Russian army as a solution to the problems are interpreted as an inconsistency. The Kremlin administration is making attempts to suppress the unstable atmosphere that has spread throughout the country, but the public is experiencing very anxious days. Some of the Russian people think that this war is unnecessary and that is entirely Putin's war. That is why they oppose military recruitments. The Kremlin's regulations on the military service are strictly enforced. Top Russian commanders pay the price for failures and negative news from the conflict zones. The Kremlin has an intolerant attitude towards mistakes. For this reason, many senior Russian commanders have disappeared or resigned since the beginning of the war. Recently, a senior Russian commander was dismissed again. After the resignation of the Russian commander, the controversy resurfaced. The failure on the front line is seen as the failure of the commanders, but some argue that it is a structural problem. The Russian government replaced the commander in charge of the Russian military units in the Kherson region in southern Ukraine due to the failure. According to our information, Colonel General Oleg Makarevich, who commanded the Dnipro Face Group, was replaced by the Colonel General Mikhail Teplinsky, commander of the Russian Air Force. Colonel General Teplinsky, who replaced Colonel General Oleg Makarevich, has been the commander of the Russian Air Force since June 2022. The new commander is considered successful by local sources. It is stated that dismissed commander Makarevich was demoted. According to the information obtained from local sources, the main reason for the change of the commander is the military failures in the region. The successes of the counterattack against Ukrainian forces in the Kherson region was the most important reason for this process. President of the Russian Federation Vladimir Putin recently visited the southern military district. It is believed that the decision to dismiss the commander took place during that visit. The Ukrainian army's counteroffensive operations in the region are cornering the Russian troops. For this reason, the Russian army, which has started to lose its gains, does not have the opportunity to advance. The situation is better understood when the positions of the troops in the Kherson region are analyzed. Ukrainian forces maintain their positions on the left bank of the Dnieper River in the region. The presence of the Ukrainian army in the region poses a danger for the Russian troops. Attempts by the Russian troops to advance near the banks of the Dnieper River has blocked by the Ukrainian defense. Therefore, clashes continue on both sides of the river. It is noticed that the Makarevich's negligence and the lack of command initiatives pose a risk to Russian operations in the area near the eastern Ukrainian city of Kherson. Military experts believe that this situation will lead to danger for the Russian army in the future. These reasons are also cited as another reasons for the change of the mission. There is a possibility that the Ukrainian army may organize a major ground operation in the region. It was stated that Makarevich would have a difficulty defending the region if the Ukrainian army organized a ground operation. It is thought that the Kremlin administration and the high command of the Russian army took such a step in line with these events. It is widely reported that the Russian army is in an intense situation. Russian troops unable to give a significant response to the continuous attacks of the Russian army continue to wait. The Ukrainian army continues its struggle with the determination in both defense and offensive positions. A statement was made by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine about the latest attacks. According to the statements, the Ukrainian army made progress in the southern region. It was also said that there was an attack attempt on the Ukraine last night. During Russia's attempt to attack Ukraine with unmanned aerial vehicles, the Ukrainian defense responded. According to the Ukrainian officials, 7 Russian drones were involved in the attack attempt. In the air defense units of the Ukrainian Air Force announced that they destroyed all Russian drones involved in the attack. Preparing for the upcoming winter conditions, the Ukrainian army wants to increase its gains. The Ukrainian army, which has made strong accumulations in the regions cleared of the Russian occupation, aims to strengthen its positions in winter. In this way, a strong response will be given against the attacks made by Russia. Progress will also be secured. Preparations are expected to be completed in the coming days. Ukrainian military intelligence also seems to have intensified its work. They've stated they will not stop until all occupiers are cleared from the Ukrainian territory. How do you assess the current situation of the Russian army? How do you assess the huge losses suffered by the Russian army since the beginning of the war? And do you think the Russian commander assigned to the Kherson region will be successful? How do you assess the Ukrainian army's counteroffensive operations and defenses? How do you think the winter conditions will affect the war? We value your opinion. Please share it with us.